The map Oregon and Rainbow Six Siege might seem like any other regular map, but it's anything but. What most people don't know is Oregon is actually based on a real place and a real event that happened in 1993 in Waco, Texas. I know I personally, after hearing this story, will never look at Oregon the same and see all the different Easter eggs in this map that point to this massacre that claimed roughly the lives of 90 people. So this is the story we're going over today. Now, if we head back in time, in 1992, we're going to find a UPS driver that was delivering a package to a property called the Mount Carmel Center. Now, this property was owned by the Branch Davidians, which was run by a fellow called David Koresh. Now, this day should have been simple for the UPS driver, except that he happened to drop one of the boxes that he was delivering, and when he did, the box broke enough for him to tell that there was grenades inside of it. So, what did he do? He reported it to the local authorities. It wasn't long after that that the ATF got involved, which is the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Division, and they started staking out the property and Koresh. And what they found in their investigation was that he was dealing with assault rifles. He wasn't ordering them, but they figured out that he was modifying the rifles that he had to be automatic, which you're allowed to own guns. You're not allowed to own those guns without a special permit. So they rented a house across from the property, and after a very, very long investigation, decided to execute a search warrant and arrest warrant for Koresh. Now, the date is now February 28, 1993, when they're going to execute this search warrant. But unfortunately for the ATF, Koresh is already aware that they're going to do it. And ATF was about to find out exactly the extent of how many weapons that they had on that property. Because when they drove up to search the place, all hell broke loose. Now, it's still debated on who fired first, ATF or Koresh. Some have stated that it was ATF shooting at the dogs because they had dogs that were trying to attack them. But either way, on that day, 4 ATF agents lost their lives, along with 6 of the Branch Davidians. And the only reason that it even ended that day at all was because the ATF, not Koresh, the ATF ran out of bullets. Now, the following days of what turns out to be a 51-day siege, 900 different law enforcement officials come down to the Mount Carmel Center, including the FBI and FBI negotiators. Now, in all the negotiations that had happened over the 51 days, the one bonus is that they did get 21 children and 14 adults out of the building. They had to make agreements with Koresh to be able to get people out, like play his sermons on the radio or actually broadcast. That was the last one, actually. He was supposed to surrender if they broadcasted on live television his sermons. But Koresh, being Koresh, afterwards said the Lord talked to him and told him to not give up yet, even though Koresh had promised on April 14th that he would surrender. So at that point, the FBI knew that he was not going to surrender, that he was going to keep playing games. And on the morning of April 19th, 1993, they came at the compound with tanks and gas to try to flush them out. Unfortunately, by the time 11:55 came around, they were not coming out of the compound. They were shooting bullets at the tanks, and they started tearing the tanks into the building. And then, simultaneously, 3 different fires started in the compound, and it burned to the ground, with 56 adults and 20 children. 2 of the adults, pregnant females, were still inside. And it's heartbreaking. In the days that followed, the country was divided, as most of them thought the FBI used excessive force and that excessive force should be used to protect your people, not against your people. They thought that they could have gotten the kids out, they could have tried harder. And in a really sad way, it ended up being tied into another tragedy because a U.S. vet felt exactly that way. And he waited 2 years to the day, April 19th, 1995, to be the Oklahoma bomber, in lieu of what happened at the Waco siege. So now that we've kind of covered this story, let's look at Oregon and the eerie similarities to this tragedy. Now, if we start off by comparing Oregon to the Mount Carmel Center I think we can both agree there are similarities. You have the two towers. We have Red Tower and Small Tower, right? I mean, if you were to cut off and move around the building a little bit, it's kind of a smaller version of the Mount Karma building. Now, when we spawn into the map, the first thing we see is police cars surrounding this area, just like it would have been in the siege. One nod too that has always been brought up is if you go to the second floor, you have the armory room. Now this is the point of contention when it comes to it all, because you have an empty armory, because all of them were in the siege trying to protect the building, and this was the armory room that held all the weapons that were supposed to be confiscated in the beginning. If you go around the map and you look, all these posters, right? They go very much hand in hand, which would happen, which is way that Vidians felt. And what was most eerie to me now is to go into the kids room, knowing that so many children died there, and this is their bedroom. I almost feel like I'd want to have a moment of silence before I even started a match in this room. And the other part I thought was really interesting is there's so many calendars in this map, but all the calendars say April 14th. Granted, it's a Tuesday, and this would have been then what, 1992? Because I do believe the 14th is a Wednesday. But minus that, ED is circled on the 14th. Now, I went and looked into it. Like, the biggest thing that come up for military terms is effective date. Now, he was supposed to surrender on April 14th. So is that a link to it? Hard to say, not entirely sure. And the one last little thing that kind of really hits me in a weird spot is if you go down to the basement. So as the reports go, most of the women and children had died in the below bunker supply room. Now, the fact that this says supply room, and that of all the floors it is painted red, I don't know, to me I now look at it like it's the blood of the dead that had been engulfed there. Either way, I know I'm never gonna look at Oregon the same way again. But on that note, that kind of wraps up the video for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it was a little bit darker than my normal type videos, but I thought this was quite fascinating, and I thought I wanted to share. But either way, let me know your thoughts. I hope you guys are had a fabulous weekend, because I guess by the time this is uploaded, it's gonna be the end of the weekend. So either way, I hope you guys are having a fabulous day. Thank you so much, and until the next time, bye.